Well, hello everyone.
And welcome to my shop. All right. We were going to start on the Chevrolet, but well, I've got really caught up in some other projects, and I really feel the need for a cruise to go on. So I'm gonna do a cruise, but first off, I'm gonna change the oil on this on the GMC on this 350, and then we're gonna take it out and take it for a run. As for the oil, I've decided I'm gonna go with this Shell Rotella 10W30. It is a diesel-based oil, but it does have a gas engine certification also, and it's supposed to have a little bit more phosphorus in it for the or ZDDP, which is for flat tappet engines. It's better for lubrication. So the positives far outweigh any negatives of running a diesel-rated oil in a gasoline engine. Matter of fact, I've run, even in the military, we ran the same oil in all the engines, and they were all diesel rated. So there you go. All right, I just changed the oil to 10W30, and I can tell an immediate difference in the sound of this engine. It is so much more quieter. That 5W30 was just too thin. You know, the actual mileage of this motor is unknown. It doesn't smoke. And now when it didn't tap with this thicker oil. So again, I don't know how many miles is on this engine, but it's definitely very observable, the difference. That motor is just so much, the top end especially, is so much quieter. But anyway, just a little, yeah, and I went with the Wix oil filter too. All right, we're hitting about 30 PSI. Let's see if we can put a light, there you go. 30 PSI, 40 PSI, cold engine, idling at, about 900 RPM. That's an improvement also. All right, the jury's out. 10W30 is the oil to run. All right, I also tightened up these this drag link ball joint ends. Now you guys with Chevys, pay attention, because you've got the exact same thing. If we can get this light to, how come, you know, you can never get a light to stay. Now if you look, there's a cotter pin. You remove the cotter pin and you can either run the that plug either in-bore or out. All right, now at one point I pulled them all out and cleaned them on the Chevy. I didn't on this, but on this drag link here I got 2 full turns on the back one, and I got 1/2 turn on this one, this front one here. So that should tighten up my steering somewhat. You know, a road test will tell. But anyway, see, these trucks they were made back in the day for adjustment. And one of the things was when these ball joint ends, I call them ball joints because they are a ball and socket joint end, I guess, because it's not a ball joint as what we're used to with modern cars. But it's a ball and 2 cups, a spring, and a washer and a spacer, plus the cup there that screws in, and you can adjust how much plays in there. So anyway, hopefully I'll have a little less play on my steering wheel now. All right, we're out just taking another relaxing cruise in this thing. It's a unique looking scarecrow. But just cruising the back roads around the mountain, and wanted to do a few updates. You can see I got rid of them Screaming Skull mirror. That's an aftermarket reproduction of what would have been an optional mirror back in '49. See how small it is? It's not that obstructive. And you know, when you're dealing with a mirror, a center bar, and then this wiper, well, it's kind of nice to have, you know, not as much restriction, and that gives me a good enough view. That mirror is pretty good, but I like this mirror to give me help give me some view on the right side. Boy, this is a beautiful day. I think I need to make a stop here for a second. All right, I'm back. Just thought I'd have a little silence there. Hear my grill rattling up front. I got to do something about that. But it takes the bumps so much better. Yeah, I think I've come up with a plan on the radio. I'm going to leave my speedometer where it's at, and I'm going with the under dash. And in order to do that, I've got to reactivate these gauges. And to reactivate those gauges, I need to replace them. Now, I've got a fuel gauge that'll work. That's not a problem. And you know, GMC came with a more of a yellowed gauge face than this like dark gray and white of the Chevy. And I've got the decals that actually came with it. I guess a previous owner had planned on doing the swap one day. Now, yeah, let's make a turn here. You know, it's funny, I feel like I need to shift or hit a clutch. I'm just still not used to the automatic in an old truck. But anyway, the gauges. The ammeter works. I've got a replacement fuel gauge that will work. I just need to get a reducer, so that's no problem. Now, I've got another temperature gauge in a cluster that's, but it only goes to 212. And like I said, I may have specified in an earlier video that there's times when if I'm idling long red lights and a lot of bumper to bumper, or I'm sitting at a drive-through window, I can get up as high as 210. You know, the fan kicks on at 200, but I can get as high as 210. And these gauges, the Chevrolet gauge, maxes out at 212. You know, I don't know. I mean, it would work. And it would probably not damage it if it even went higher than that, idling for long periods of time. But I may just go ahead and order another 220, like this gauge, the GMC. You know, GMCs came with the bigger, more powerful engines than the Chevrolet engines, and so they had their temp gauges went to 220 instead of 212, and also the GMCs ran higher oil pressure, so they, well, the Chevrolets, once they went to full oil pressure, they went higher. But the this oil pressure gauge goes only to 30 psi, and this truck runs cold about 45. This engine, and then it'll settle down. Well, right here you can see its speed. I'm doing what, 33, and I'm what, about 40 psi. Now it'll idle all the way down to 10. That's no problem. Now it's no problem running that maxed out, because I'm running the oil pressure gauge on my Chevy maxed out most all the time, other than when it's idling, because I haven't changed it out. But if I'm gonna go through all the procedure to get this going, I may just decide to do that. But then again, you know, I keep talking myself around. I've got, you know, when you got parts that will work, not work ideal, you know, perfectly, but they will work and work fine, then, you know, you got to juggle around that. So in order, like with everything with this GMC, to do one thing, to add something, or to change one thing, I've got to alter additional. And so now that's a Chevrolet cluster. So at one point somebody changed out the cluster, and you might not tell from the picture, but that it's real faded. But that's a GMC Speedo because it's somewhat yellow. The numerals, and that's how the GMC is. I can show you better on my once I show you the stickies. You know, it's like a kit where you can actually change it. You know, of course, I could put stickies on there that would increase the PSI temperature, but the gauge would still not be accurate then. All right. I'm really enjoying driving this thing. You know, I'm picking up other little nitpicky things. I'm going to have to address the front end as far as the alignment. The play's not that bad now that I tightened up the drag link, but turning hard right, the steering wheel doesn't want to come back. You know, I got to assist it on a hard right. A slight right, you know, a regular corner, it does okay. But other than, you know, and then it, you know, I've got a vibration, starts about 45 and stays pretty consistent from that point on. So I know I can iron that down, or I'll be tearing these brand new tires up. There's a family out bicycling. So the front end, as far as stance though, I think it's perfect. I like. I can get turner. I can open the door, turn around, and sit my butt in here without even utilizing the running boards if I don't want to. So it's really the perfect height. Got several bumps here. I just don't like to hear all the rattling. I need to address putting wood in the bed. Redoing the bed, wood, and there's some rust on the panels, but I've got some tongue and groove I can put in there like I did the Chevy, and I may go that route instead of going fancy. Needs a real tailgate. Somebody did real good. I'll show a picture here about. I'll do it. Should pop up about now. Picture of a homemade tailgate somebody made. Now, I've found a couple Chevrolets, but I don't, you know, this is a GMC and it's going to stay a GMC. It's kind of unique. You know, there's so many similarities. It's, you know, the cutoff point of what makes one a GM and one GMC and the other a Chevy. One of the major considerations is that front cross member. The front cross member on the GMC is forward more a little bit, but it's shaped differently because the radiator sits further forward due to the fact that the GMC engines were longer than the Chevrolets. So you know, and that in itself really makes it pretty attractive for late model engine swaps and using a GMC frame because you know, the front cross members is already setting the radiator further out away from the engine. It gives you another inch, at least inch, of clearance over the Chevrolet radiator. So that's kind of one thought. But most of all the rest of the body's the same. I mean, exact same thing. Fenders. Me and a guy got in a little debate over the fenders because of the way the front noses are different. But it ends up the fenders are exactly the same. That's something, isn't it? That's just the way they're covered by the front cowling pieces.
about hard to keep this thing just cruising slow. You just want to keep hearing that 4-barrel open up. So, but the sweet spot, I've discovered, you know, every engine, every drivetrain and the gearing, you know, when that combination hits its sweet spot, you can tell it. And the sweet spot for this setup is 45. See if we can get it down there to 45. That's about 1,700 RPM. Although, of course, we're going up and down some hills, so you won't be able to tell it. But you can tell it's not laboring, and it's hitting every lick. Of course, that said, I got to go up a hill. Of course, in my AO, hills and curves is the standard. You know, we don't know what to do with a long stretch of flat. Straight flat, oh man, we wouldn't know what to do with it. Make an interstate out of it, I guess. Drag race strip. See, there's the sweet spot right there. It's just hitting every lick. Not laboring. I wish I had an air fuel, an air fuel gauge, ratio gauge. I'm probably hitting that ideal setting. Yeah, I want to always get into it, but actually it cruises real good. And if I keep it under 50, the vibration's not bad at all. 50 and above, I get a pretty good vibration that I'm afraid is going to prematurely wear out them brand spanking new tires. So I'm going to have to address that. I keep coming up with stuff I'm having to address. The radio's not a have to. See, I don't know, let's look up here. Oh, battery's about to go dead. You can see here the way my hood's lifted up, the hinge bolts are incorrect on this thing, and I've got I just received on that last order where I got my windshield wiper. I just got a new hinge bolt set because they got a hodgepodge holding it down. So I'll go through whatever that's going to take to fix that. And I'm afraid they may strip some captured nuts out or something, so we'll see that. But this light's flashing, it's about to go dead. So I think I'll tune my little cruise off, or we'll just cruise through and just let it, see how long it'll go before it dies. Speculating about the sweet spot, or remarking about it earlier, and well, I'm getting I put my thinking cap on a little bit more, and the engine that was in this truck when I got it was a blown 250, and it was a 79 model. Now, there's a good possibility that the turbo-hydromatic 3-speed automatic that was on it and that's in it now came with the engine. In other words, it's a 79 also. And that engine came out of a C10, a 79 C10, because it was the 2-barrel integrated manifold, and they only came on the trucks, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that when I did the numbers, ran the numbers, it was for a truck, a 79 half-ton truck. The rear end, when I went to buy the spring kit for it, I sourced it as an 80 Nova, which is, and everything bolted right up. but it's a possibility that the rear is also out of a 79 C10 half-ton pickup. So I'm going to guess that the rear the ratio is probably a 373 perhaps. So in 79, you know, double nickels 55 was the optimum highway speed, and that's more than likely what this was set up for. So I got some vibration, but let's take it up to 55 and see what the engine sounds like. Just for GP. All right, we're there. It actually sounds real good. We're clicking along at about 2,000 RPM. Well, we slowed down a little bit. Let's get back up there. About 2,100 RPM. All right, so we're about 2,100 RPM. And it's not laboring it at all. And at 2,100 RPM, that's not turning a whole lot either. So, of course, I'm running a lot shorter tires. These tires are probably 3 inches shorter than what came on the truck stock. But it just burned, I mean, at 55, 56, it's just burned right along. It's just at 45, it's just got that low rumble to it, like it's just like that's where it should be. So anyway, if you're seeing this video, that means that I didn't get to the Chevy like I wanted to. I've got several projects that's come up that are taking my time and resources away from working on both this GMC and the Chevy. I've got some home improvement projects going on. Several. One of them pretty major. The wives want more different flooring. And I'm not looking forward to that at all. And oh, come on, squirrel. Good brakes. But I just won't get his guts all over the bottom side of my engine. But I've got some property issues to settle, well, not issues, projects to settle up on. And then I've got I'm really looking into expanding my shop out the backside, and that's coming up. So that's going to be and one other big thing, I'm into gardening, and it's time that I start putting out my big corn patch, and I've got to till it. I've already broadcast. I've already tilled it twice. Once to get it soft, and once for weed control, which was a light do-over. But I'm gonna till it again just before I go ahead and run some seed down, and that's about an acre plot. And so I've got that I need to get done. As soon as this rain breaks, and hopefully it's not rain today. If it don't rain in the morning, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. So that's gonna take precedence. So basically, what I'm making time for is cruising, and hence you're seeing cruising videos. There's that old truck back over there. I've showed that on previous videos. I'll tell you, that vent window really puts the cool air over on me. It's actually a big benefit. You know, one of the big things to do is to go to solid. Now I can fix that. I can actually fix that vent and that window without any major problem. You know, I think about power steering. Other than my arm power steering. But that vent and that window, yeah, I can do something about that. I mean, I can repair that and keep it that way. Of course, you know, this, you know, it'll look too odd though. Anyway. But it's really beneficial. It is really throwing the air on me. And I'm going to guess we're in the 80s again today. And without air. We're going up you can't tell, I guess. We're going up a steep incline. If it wasn't for hills and curves, I wouldn't know what to do with a straight road. I think I've said that. People see me coming by taking these videos. Anyway. Oh, I went by Harbor Freight. That was part of my run today. I got a couple things. I got some foo-for-all. Well, I'm getting some traffic behind me. I'm going to speed up. We're trying a new test here. And on my camera photography, I guess we would say. But anyway, here's a little foo-for-all I got while I was at Harbor Freight today. And well, you know, I bought very few you know, frilly things for the, you know, shiny, other than of course the chrome on the engine. But most everything I've been putting on this thing has been necessary. I've just been trying to make it on the pretty side. Well, a horn is kind of necessary. And there's several people that I pass by that I like to honk the horn at when I go by, and they enjoy it, they wave back. So anyway, let's see what this dude sounds like. It sounds a whole lot better with that with the horn, with the funnel on it, than the one that was on there that was busted off did. I think I may relocate that, but I don't know. I thought I'd put that on there. And this is also a test to see how good, if I got my camera angle right and all that good stuff.